Ottawa, winter 2024. Behind the silent limestone corridors of Parliament Hill, a figure is quietly swelling, threatening to shake the foundations of one of the G7's most stable economies. Canada has long prided itself on a textbook balance sheet, but now the spectre of public debt is returning with a face more formidable than ever. Imagine the economy as a massive vessel, with government spending as the engine propelling it forward. But what happens when that engine consumes too much fuel while the reserves are running dry? Soaring interest rates have ended the era of cheap money, transforming once favorable loans into $1 trillion interest burden. Many are left wondering, are we witnessing prosperity built on a house of cards? When debt servicing costs begin to outpace budgets for healthcare and education, it is no longer a matter of digits on an electronic board. It is a red alert for the survival of the middle class. A liquidity shock is forming, and the question is no longer if it will arrive, but how much time do we have left before the debt bubble truly bursts? The first signs of a crisis do not begin with a loud explosion, but with the silent erosion of confidence indicators. In Canada, the credit default swap CDS indices, the insurance against government default, have begun to show unusual volatility, reflecting the underlying anxieties of international investors. As public debt hits the $1.2 trillion mark, exceeding 40% of GDP, the liquidity of the government bond market is no longer as abundant as it once was. Years of heavy spending to combat the pandemic and massive social subsidies have created a fiscal addiction that is hard to break. Meanwhile, the real estate market, the backbone of Canadian household wealth, is facing suffocating pressure from a policy rate at its highest level in 2 decades. Average home prices in Toronto and Vancouver are starting to cool, but the burden of mortgage debt is not. As net asset values decline while debt remains stagnant, a reverse wealth effect is taking hold, paralyzing consumer purchasing power and pushing the economy into a dangerous state of stagnation. To understand the danger of the current financial trajectory, we must examine the mechanics of a typical economic shock. A nation that overspends often falls into the twin deficit trap, a fiscal deficit coupled with a trade deficit. As the Canadian government continues to pump money into the economy to maintain public services, the money supply increases while labor productivity remains flat. This creates structural inflationary pressure, forcing the Bank of Canada (BOC) to keep interest rates high to restrain it. However, high interest rates are a double-edged sword. They increase the government's borrowing costs, leading to further borrowing just to pay interest on all debt. This is the death spiral that many economies have tasted before. Once the market perceives that the government's ability to repay is wavering, foreign capital will begin to flee, putting downward pressure on the Canadian dollar CAD. As the exchange rate plunges, the cost of imports will skyrocket, driving inflation to new heights and paralyzing all traditional monetary policy efforts. Global economic history is a graveyard of nations that once believed they could spend without limit. Look at the 2010 Greek public debt crisis, where a lack of transparency in financial reporting and excessive public spending caused the nation to lose its financial sovereignty and fall into a painful decade of austerity. Or further south, Argentina, an early 20th century economic powerhouse, became a heartbreaking lesson in abusing the printing press to cover deficits, leading to hyperinflation and the total collapse of the local currency. Even the lessons from the 1997 Asian financial crisis and IMF intervention showed that when creditors' trust vanishes, collapse happens at lightning speed. Canada is not Venezuela or Turkey, but economic laws exclude no one. Maintaining a high deficit in a low-growth environment is a high-stakes gamble. What happened in Turkey with unorthodox rate policies or the collapse of the welfare system in Venezuela serves as a reminder. Prosperity is fragile, and once fiscal discipline is broken, the price will be paid by multiple generations. The impact of government overspending does not stop at macro figures. It is deeply permeating Canada's economic structure. One of the most serious consequences is the crowding out effect, when the government borrows excessively from capital markets. It competes directly with the private sector, driving up borrowing costs for businesses. This makes it harder for Canada's small and medium-sized enterprises, the primary engine of job creation, to access resources for expansion. Simultaneously, a weakening CAD against the USD makes importing machinery and technology more expensive, eroding international competitiveness. In major cities, the skyrocketing cost of living resulting from monetary inflation has pushed rents and food prices to unthinkable levels. Canadians now face a harsh reality. Wages are not keeping pace with the rising cost of capital and taxes. This erosion of purchasing power is not just an economic issue. It is beginning to fracture social trusts in the Canadian dream that once acted as a magnet for global talent. Standing on the brink of a debt crisis, the reaction of the government and the Bank of Canada BARG has become the focal point of every debate. The BARG is caught in a difficult bind. On one hand, it must maintain high interest rates to protect. On the other, it fears that excessive tightening will detonate the real estate bubble and push the economy into a deep recession. The Ottawa government, in an attempt to appease public opinion, has introduced targeted support packages. The increase in the capital gains tax have sparked controversy over whether it will discourage investors and cause a brain drain. If the government cannot present a credible deficit reduction roadmap, costs soaring and turn the prospect of a crisis into an unavoidable reality. From an individual perspective, this is a time when financial literacy becomes an essential survival skill. Financial experts recommend that Canadians prioritize paying off interest floating debt, particularly credit cards and personal lines of credit. Furthermore, diversifying investment portfolios beyond Canadian borders, specifically into USD-denominated assets or gold, can serve as a shield against a potential devaluation of the CAD. This is no longer the time for high-leverage real estate speculation. Instead, investing in personal skills and adaptability in a changing labor market will be the most valuable asset. Understanding that the government no longer has the resources to protect everyone, each individual must build their own financial fortress to withstand the coming economic storms. Looking at the big picture, Canada is at a historic crossroads. We once overcame the debt crisis of the 1990s through painful but necessary austerity measures. However, the current context is far more complex, with an aging population and chronically low labor productivity. If the government maintains its current spending momentum without a substantial growth strategy, we are borrowing the prosperity of the future to pay for the flashiness of the present. The impact on personal lives will become increasingly clear. Through utility bills, taxes, and grocery prices. The lessons from Greece or Argentina are not meant to cause panic, but to remind us of the discipline of the law of value. An economy does not run on political promises. It runs on the ability to create real value and the confidence of creditors. Canada still has an opportunity to turn the tide, but that window of opportunity is closing with every budget cycle. The stability we have long enjoyed may have to be redefined by reality and thrift, rather than the expectation of unlimited bailouts. As these frames come to a close, we realize that the story of government spending is not just about dry numbers on a balance sheet. It is a story of financial ethics and responsibility toward future generations. Today's overspending is a form of taxation on Canadians yet to be born. The most practical insight for every viewer is this: never believe in the illusion of a free lunch. Every subsidy, every bailout package comes at a price, and usually the taxpayer is the one left to settle the bill with predatory interest. A nation's true wealth does not come from the printing press or international loans, but from creativity, production, and financial discipline. In a volatile world where major powers are restructuring the economic order, Canada cannot continue to ignore the harsh laws of the global capital market. An early awakening to the national financial reality is perhaps the only bitter medicine that can save the economy from a domino-style collapse that we have seen too often in modern history. We conclude our journey into the Canadian economy with a reflective gaze. Is the government overspending? The answer is perhaps already evident through interest rate fluctuations, the struggles of the middle class, and warnings from international financial institutions. However, a deeper question remains: how much of our freedom and our children's future are we willing to trade for the temporary peace of mind of the present? As debt figures continue to dance and the value of currency is gradually eroded, the line between a prosperous nation and an economy paralyzed by debt becomes thinner than ever. Perhaps it is time we not only demand more responsibility from our government, but also understand the rules of the money game ourselves, so as not to be swept away. After all, if one day international creditors knock on the door and declare that the credit limit has been reached, what will be left of Canada besides memories of a lost golden age? Will you choose to believe in the government's reassurances? Or will you prepare yourself for a challenging new chapter of the Maple Leaf economy?